A warm welcome back to On Cue Billiards in La Mesa. This is the 10-ball league season-ending tournament. It's winner side round 3. Randy Tickner, 5.59 Fargo is my opponent here. You don't get much closer. I'm a 5.58, so this should be a nice tight game. So I've made the 1 in the bottom left. And how's the 2 shaping up? Well, I think the 9's blocking a little bit of the pocket, and the 6 is slightly obstructing me a little as well. So I want to try and attack. So I'm going to play this 2-ball with a little trace of right-hand side just to try and bend it slightly around the 6. And then I've got to try and put it in the right-hand side of the pocket. Just miss the 9. And then if I play with a bit of backspin as well, draw it out a bit if I can, I should still be available to get at that 3-ball. But I ended up hitting it quite a lot too thin. The swerve was a bit too much, I think, for that shot. And I've left him not an easy shot, thanks to the table. It's the sort of shot I think you'd play with right-hand side, and that would help throw the 2-ball in, bring the cue ball round for the 3 in the same pocket. I hit that quite hard and a bit too thick, but I don't think he's done any damage. In fact, it looks like a full ball hook behind the 9-10. So I'm looking at trying to make this. I want to try and come off 2 rails. So you want to come off the long rail on the left there. A good diamond and a half before that 2-ball. I was a little bit too much behind, and so missed the pot. And I've left him a cushion first shot on this 2. I've got a little hook behind the 7, but you would expect him to definitely hit this, and the pot's not that tricky either. Play with left-hand side. Oh, he's missed it altogether. So this is a gift. Question is, what pocket do you play the 3 into? Logical one would be the bottom right. And then you'd be drawing back for the 4 in the top left, same pocket as the 2. I'm also thinking I could play below the 3 and take it in the top right-hand pocket past the 8-ball. That would be a follow-forward shot, which actually would make it easier to get on the 4. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get straightish. Come a little bit too far down. Could have been a bit more over to the right and not quite as far down to the rail, but it's still makeable. There's an option in the right centre as well, but I don't like that pocket opening from. I've just kicked my tripod. Please bear with me a second. Apologies for that. So hit that too thick. The shape was actually not looking too bad, but just not quite thin enough on the 3-ball. Left a chance here for Randy. Thin cut. And he's made it, but he's going to scratch. So another opportunity. Just letting him know he's on 2 fouls. He says, but I shot in between. No, that doesn't matter. I'm explaining to him I can shoot as many shots in between as I like. It's his inning which are relevant. So his previous inning, he missed the 2. Trying to go rail first, and that inning he scratched on the 4. So even though I potted the ball in between, or actually I potted the 2, he potted the 3, and the 3-ball that he potted, that was when he scratched. So yeah, I could have carried on and run 6 balls and then snookered him on the next one, and he'd still be on 2 fouls. Of course, in this BCA, the 3 consecutive fouls is a loss of game. But I've not managed to get where I wanted to be, and I was going to play for 3 fouls. I just wanted to be able to stun the 5, and I can play this, but it's a little tricky with the bridge, and not a particularly difficult one to hit. I have reminded him he's on 2, because even though he can hit it fairly easy, they could still scratch. But he hasn't, and so his jeopardy is over. Just following forward. 6 will pass the 8 in the top right. I've overcooked it a little. I can still play this with check side and avoid having to go all the way around the table. I could just play with left inside English and try and check back and get above the 9-10. And then it would be a combination 7 onto the 8. I've just left this a bit thinner than I would have wanted. So I'm going to have to play all the way down off the bottom short rail and then back up the table. And I've got to get the speed control right here if I want to try and finish on the 9 in the top left. And this doesn't look good. I'm going to be behind the 10. My first instinct was to call the 9 in the side, but then I'm looking at it thinking that 9-10 could well be a combo. So if you're playing to kick the 9, you may as well try and put the 10 in. So yeah, you've got to come off the rail and catch the top side of the 9 as we look at the screen. Just having a bit of a conversation with my opponent. Well, I hit it, but a little bit too much on the top side, so it missed the 10 altogether. And it's not an easy leave by any means. He's quite close to the rail and some distance away from the 10. So he's jacking up, trying to get backspin on the cue ball. And that is a belting shot. You've got to say it. That's a cracker. A lot of power, bottom and right hand English. And he's made it into a decent opportunity now. He can just drop this 10 ball in. And punish me for my mistake on the 7 ball. Nicely played. So Randy draws first blood. And he's going to be breaking in rack 2. And so it looks like a dry break. Yes, indeed it is. And I have a shot here past the 8 ball. Just going to check, does that 2 pass the 5? And the 5's blocking quite a lot of the pocket. I think you'd have to play rail first with the 2 into the rail and then off the 5 and in. So just bottom and right, trying to get fairly straight on the 2 ball. Well, quite hard to hit that and not 100% accurate. Wasn't a very smooth stroke, so it rattled, stayed out. And I left a similar type of shot, a little bit thinner. You play this one with a bit slower, with a bit of right-hand English. Yeah, nicely played. He has the same shot I was hoping for. Fran just wants to get an update on the scores here so she can put her pennies in. There we go. 1-0 to Randy in this second rack. And he's also just checking. I think he's got to be rail first. And then you've got to try and draw out, try and get back to the centre of the table. Somewhere where his hand is would be ideal for the 3. But that's not worked out. I think he was always going to be hooked behind the 6, but the 5 just came along and grazed it. So I think he's got a thin edge. And I think he's considering caroming in the 4 ball, very thin off the 3, drop the 4 in. Just has to be careful he doesn't cut the 3 behind the 7 and hook himself. So he wants to cut the 3 into the 7. Well, he did put it behind the 3. Made the carom nicely enough, avoided the scratch, but this looks a bit dicey. Just got to get past the 7, and maybe you could cut that into the bottom right. It's a bit of a blind pocket. He ended up catching it too thin and scratched. So I can't complain at not getting opportunities. I've certainly had those. I need to start taking them. And I'm wanting to come round 2 rails off this 3. Bit of right hand side to get me a decent angle on the 5. I'd like to be just to the right of the pocket line. If I could get there, then I can just follow forward off the short rail for the 6 in the bottom right. Just have to watch out for the 8 if I'm playing it with left hand English. But didn't put any English, so I've left the 6 a bit tricky. Could have done with coming a couple of feet further back up the table and getting past that 8 ball. So I can put it in the bottom right. I'm going to have to stun over to the left hand long rail, then try and get back over to the right, probably for the 7 in the top right. But caught that 6 too thin. Got the cue ball roughly where I wanted it. That 6 has gone up there and moved everything. And he's just having a look now. First up he called the 8, so he thought he could do a carom, and I think now he's calling the 6. After having a closer inspection, he can cut it in past that 8 ball, the top right. I think he's still weighing up the carom at the minute. But here we go, just checking. Yeah, it's called the 6. So I think he's trying to cut this 6 in the top left, actually. I was thinking at first he was trying to cut it in top right past the 8, but... And he got the carom, but he didn't call that in the end, and then he scratched as well, so another opportunity. So, needs to get on that 7 in the bottom right, I think. I mean, you could try and get below it, and then you're rolling it in the top right, but I think I'm just going to play 1 rail out, get towards it. Oh, hit the second rail as well. And I'm a bit flat. If I'd have had slightly more angle, cue ball come out a bit more into the table, it would have been straightforward. I could have drawn off the long rail. But now I'm looking at just doing a direct draw back. I'm going to play with a bit of left-hand English, so that's kind of going to reverse the cue ball. If I do catch the 9, Oh dear, look at that though. Caught the 9 thin and gone behind the 10. If I could have just missed the 9, then that English would have thrown it out towards the left and I would have had a decent angle, but hey ho. The execution wasn't quite right. So I have to play a kick shot here. Now, you want to try and kick 2 rails. Trying to get 1 rail is very tricky. So I've got to play with right-hand English. But I just missed the point of the corner pocket on that long rail. But I put too much English on, and I have sold out the second rack. Yeah, this is pretty elementary for Randy to take a 2-0 lead. He'll be on the hill. I've certainly had my opportunities. Could have been 2-0 the other way. So just got to keep your head up and keep doing the routine. Do the drill, as I like to say. So Randy pots the 10 and is 2-0 up. Breaking in rack 3. He's got 1 in off the break, and he has a shot at the 1. It will pass the 2 in the bottom left. And it's quite a nice split of the balls, actually. If he were able to get on the 2, I might be fearing the worst, because there's an opportunity to run out here. Made the 4 off the break, so it will be 3 to the 5 when he gets to that point. Nice stroke. And quite a big window between the 5-10 that he can use to shape up for the 3. Doesn't need to get too close to it because it's so close to the pocket, and could just drop this in, come out 1 rail, play with a bit of right English, I think. So you've got the 5 either in the side or in the bottom left, depending on how much pace you put into this. Well, he's bumped the 10 as a stopper. That's perfect. And you want to try and get fairly straight on the 6, not dead straight. And you see now he's going to have to go away from the 7. So you could choose to play around all 3 rails to try and get a better shot at the 7. I don't want to be too far away from it. So yeah, that's what he's done. But he's just finishing in the probably the worst spot. It's now a cut back into the top left. If he could have got straighter, it would have been elementary. But this is just a little tricky because it's a blind pocket. And the cue ball's wanting to go quite close to the 8, could end up going behind it or behind the 9. So you do have to watch out for that. If you're drawing across, you could end up being behind the 10 as well. So not a great execution there. It's a bit too thick. But he's not left it easy. I don't really fancy cutting this in. I think I'm going to try and just draw the cue ball behind the 9, 8-9. You want to be careful that you don't draw it into the pocket. I've done that before. Yep, that'll do. Let's see whether he'd prefer to jump or if he's a kicking type of player. I think he's going to kick it, yeah. And he's calling the top left. This will be some shot. The kick. Long bank. Oh, he's missed it altogether. Cue ball comes round and just nudges the 9 onto the side rail. So I'm thinking here I'm going to play this with bottom left. And at first I'm playing it with top right, just to come off that rail and swing out wide, but then I changed my mind and I want to stun, really. Stun with left. Sorry, stun and right to come round 2 rails and approach the 10. The Freudian slip. I do approach the 10. Look at this. I've gone behind the 10. So that's poor execution. You had the whole of the top half of the table to get into. And having to do a little swerve. And missed it altogether. So have I sold out the match here? I've had opportunities to win all 3 games and fluffed it in each occasion. It's pretty elementary. He's got to get good on the 9 though. To make it for easy to get on the 10, of course. And he's played some distance away from this. So you got a choice. Play it with a bit of right-hand English. Just cue ball to come out. And he's done that. And it's a little thinner than he would have liked. But this is for 3-0 and the match. Oh no, he's overcut it. Put a little bit of body English on that. And so I was convinced it was all over. I've actually just taken my glove off and my billiard glasses, so I'm having to put the glove back on. I didn't expect to be coming back to the table there, I must say. So a chance to get back into the match. This will make it 2-1, and I'll be breaking in rack 4 with a chance to get on the hill. And it's all a bonus, really, because I should have been out. But I'm still alive in rack 4. So it's going to shape up dry, and there's a chance here for an early 10 to take the match. You've got to play it direct. Not really worthwhile playing rail first in this instance. He did play rail first and just missed the 10. So I'm looking here. The top right pocket is completely congested with balls. That I can put the 1 onto the 2. You've got to be pretty accurate. You've got to get the 1 to hit the left-hand side of the 2 as we're looking at it right now. And then you will make that combination. I briefly considered trying to bank the 1 past the 10. I don't like that. If you misjudge it, you can sell out. And you could try and put the 1 onto the 5, but I don't think the 5 makes the 4 if you do that. So just got to get the line accurate here. Then cut on the 1, cut it to the left-hand side of the 2, make the 2 ball. Hopefully the 1 stays near that pocket. Afterwards, it's going to hit the rail and come out and hit the 5, you would imagine. Cue ball's going to hit the 9 and stay nearby. But as ever, when you're moving balls around, you do need a little bit of luck. Never quite sure where they're going to finish. Yeah, just calling the 2. Trying to get that angle fixed in my mind. Just about made it. Put a bit more juice on that than I thought I was going to, actually. And I've left the 1, so Quite lucky to get that so easy. I'm going to play this just jacking up a bit of right hand side, trying to get down for the 3. This looks okay. Fraction further than I would have wanted, but I think I can play between the 5-7 here. And then get the cue ball to come over to this right hand long rail. So I'll have a shot on the 4, hopefully, if I can drop the 3 in, find that gap. Well, I've just babied it and got quite lucky to just roll past the 5. I think to let your stroke out would have been better there. You would have got past the 5, you would have found the gap between the 5-7, and you still would have had shape on this 4, but now you've just got to play with right and miss the 6. A bit shorter pace there. Slight deceleration, didn't quite get through the cue ball nicely, so tricky shot now. You can still attack if you want, but I'm not fancying it. I'm thinking about pushing the cue ball forward, trying to get behind the 7, banking that 5 down past the 8 ball. Trace the right hand side. Once again, I've not really got through the ball properly. I've decelled it, so under hit it. If I did that a little bit harder, I think the cue ball would be behind the 7 and the 5 would be down here by this right hand corner pocket. So he has a shot. You can drop this in the bottom pocket. Can't do an awful lot with the cue ball. So you've got to just follow forward and you'll have a cut on the 6th at the top right if you make this. But he's cut it too much. And he's left the 5 over the side. So should be able to negotiate shape on the 6. Putting a bit of bottom on here, trying to just go directly onto the short rail. And check back. And this is okay. I can just draw directly across to the left hand long rail and back out for the 7 past the 10. No need for any English, just bottom. And again, nearly under it, that just about right. I've got to play this with the bridge. Would have been so much easier if I could have just gone across another couple of rolls and I would have had a simple shot for the 8 in the right side. But instead I'm playing this one with the bridge and not quite got through the ball properly again, so a bit shorter pace. Got a choice, bottom left or left centre, and I'm fancying the left centre. Well, just looking now whether I can actually hold that. No, I'm thinking I have to play off both short rails, so the bottom cushion, top cushion, and all the way back down for the 9. And that's too thick, and this time I may have sold out the whole match. Certainly got away with it a couple of times already. And I think really all I can put that down to is being slightly hurried. You've got to occasionally recognise a shot is very important and really get yourself fully composed and be ready. And I don't think I was 100% right there, but that's a good shot from Randy. He's drawn the cue ball back very nicely, so he's got good shape on the 9, and now shape on the 10 should be elementary. So this 10 ball to complete a 3-1 victory and to move on to the hot seat match. Randy Tickner is the winner. I'm going to move over to the one loss side. Thanks for watching, folks. Please check out the channel for more from this tournament coming soon.